Hey everyone, Two-Tone back with some Spiral gameplay, this time back in one of DK's meta tourneys, and he actually postponed his tourney one day just so he could have Swordsoul active in the tournament. And here we are, this is me on the across the board over there with the danger field, and my opponent here with the Swordsoul hand. I'm going to show you the best of three I had in round 3 against this Swordsoul to kind of show you the Spiral matchup versus Swordsoul, because it's probably the most pertinent thing here. My opponent is going first, and they're going to open up with Long One, which is really solid. If you can open up a long one while still performing any other kind of combo, you can set up a Barone, and it makes throwing hand traps at them more difficult. Now, I probably should still just throw my Ash out randomly just to get Barones negate out of the way. But I'm gonna imperm the Moyi, and they're gonna let that resolve because they really want to make this resolve. And that was actually my idea here, is I wanted to try to bait the Baron so I could Ash a search for Protoss. Protoss is a card that's very hard to beat in Spyral without particular hands. Basically, it turns off all dark monsters in the blind. They don't know what deck I'm running, so they're just going to blind call Protoss, and turning off Dangers, Magician Souls, and Master Plan usually leaves you dead to rights because it's hard to search out the rest of your Spirals without Master Plan. So as you can see, I'm going to draw Crossout, which doesn't do a lot here, and then I'm going to draw Spyral Resort, activate Spyral Resort, and without another card like Drone in rotation here, like a card that can work under Protoss and keep going, I just really can't do anything. Like, I'm going to go into Halka Fibrax, and like when I go into Halka Fibrax, I like make Jet Synchron, I'm like, well, I can't even make Link Kuriboh to make more Link plays, so I guess I'm just dead. I couldn't even like go to a Cerberus to pop the Brone, so I just go ahead and concede there. And yeah, that was game 1, and let's get on to game 2. Okay, here we are back with game 2, and I get to go first here, which is better for me, obviously. Spyral loves going first, at least my build of the deck. And I get to, resort. I use the resort just to bait an Ash, because I already have the Quick Fix in hand, so them ashing resort would be great for me. Otherwise, I might just lead off with Magician Souls or something, who knows. But my opponent is getting a prompt which I do summon monsters, because they have these Gammas in hand. I'm wondering what their prompt is. My idea was maybe it was an Impermanence or an Effect Veiler, which is really bad against Spyral under resort. And I was like, okay, maybe they'll use it on the Magician Souls. Nope. Okay, no response. So they're holding for something, and I still don't know what it is. I know it's not a Nibiru, because they wouldn't have a prompt this early. I know it's not an Ash, because they would almost certainly have Ashed the Spyral Resort. It's hard to imagine people not Ashing Resort, and that's my opening play. And they're also getting the response when I'm not searching. Right? They're getting a response to my Barricade Board Blocker effect here. So I know it's got to be something like an Impermanence, a Veiler, or a Gamma at that point. And my guess was Impermanence, but because this is going to be a very strong Impermanence format because of Protoss, so get used to that. So I am still just continuing on my combo. There's nothing unusual about this combo. It's just Souls plus Quick Fix combo, and I even have a bunch of extenders in hand. But I've already searched out my Sleeper, and here's my Assault to go get my Drone special summon once I use Quick Fix. And yeah, my opponent told me after the game that they were saving their Gamma for Helix. Thankfully, I do have the Ash in hand, and you're going to see like a funny interaction here between Ash and double Gamma. So they don't really have any options. So here we go. I'm going to summon Drone, and then it's going to stack a bad card to the top of their deck. I think it's a Crossout or a Call By or something. My opponent's going to Gamma, and they told me they were waiting for Helix, and then I'm going to Ash Gamma. Now, my opponent can Gamma my Ash, but that gets the driver out of their deck. So the only thing this does do, though, is it does shuffle the driver out of their deck, so my Helix call here is blind and based on luck. But this wouldn't matter too much. It would stop me from getting my Master Plan into rotation again easily, but I still call it right with the spell on top, so, a little luck there. But it didn't really matter too much because I had all the Dangers in hand to extend regardless. And my opponent doesn't have a whole lot going on that can interact with my board. Just Sleeper and Apaloosa would stop Moye plus Bashuda, so they're pretty pretty out of luck, especially when their top card's called by. So yeah, I'm just going to keep comboing, and I mill my last resort off Quick Fix, which is hilarious, but I'm not really that worried about it. They're not really likely to be running Lightning Storms or whatever, and it's hard for them Lightning Storm while leading off with Tinnies. So I'm not really that worried about having last resort on my Sleeper. I can just pop my Resort for my Sleeper activation. Yeah, here's the Curious play to go into my follow-up Synchros, and mill Destrudo, mill some other cards. I even actually get another rescue mission in the grave, which is neat. And my opponent's just going to go ahead and concede here. I don't really blame them. They didn't have anything once the call by the grave was revealed on top, so that's just game. But yeah, that was actually showing how good Gamma can be against Spyral. If I didn't have Ash there, he negates my Helix, which turns off my Quick Fix. So I can't start doing more chains, and I don't get my Master Plan into rotation again. And I wouldn't have the material I would need to go into an easy synchro play. I could still do with the dangers. I could still do Destrudo stuff because I have the Super Agent in hand, but I wouldn't be able to get into like the IP Masquerena and stuff off of that. So it would kind of hamper me, but not entirely. So yeah, that was game 2. Let's get on to game 3. Okay, so here we are back with game 3, and I get to go second here, and you're going to see my opponent does have the Protoss just sitting in their hand, and there's not a whole lot I can do about that. I don't have any hand traps. My opponent's going to lead off with Longguan, and immediately make a Barone to insulate their plays from any kind of hand trap, which is pretty important for them, though amusingly Qing is way better against SPYRAL, because if you can set up Qing Protoss, I don't think SPYRAL can win without an Infinite Impermanence involved, or a Veiler obviously on the Qing or something. Actually, you'd use it on Protoss, but without being able to banish cards, basically Qing is like Dark Claw functionally, or like Trishula every time you activate a banish effect. It's really nasty, so it's really hard to win through that. But the reason I really wanted to show you guys this best of 3 is specifically this. My opponent's going to lead off with Barone Protoss, which is something you're going to see a whole lot of. They're actually going to make the link for Tenyi Sahasrara, or whatever, how you pronounce it. And the funny thing is about Sahasrara is that it kind of works like Chi Xiao, and that it disrupts you by targeting your monsters. Here's how SPYRAL can be good against Swordsoul. I have 2 resorts in my hand thanks to drawing the terraforming, and I think terraforming is going to be better to include. I have cut terraforming from certain lists, but the resort is so good against certain Swordsoul boards that you just need it as much as possible in this meta. So here's the way you play under Protoss. Drone Agent, baby. Drone Agent is the much maligned combo, though against Protoss, it is you are going second if your opponent Protossed you. So Drone Agent is a perfectly good going second combo, and it always has been. Funnily enough, I'm going to go into Helix, which is going to bait the Barone, and that's actually my plan here. I have a stack to call by the grave to top their deck. My opponent, like, saved their Barone at this point, which they maybe should have used it on Drone, really, because then I would have had a blind call my Super Agent, and I wouldn't have had anything else going on, really. But they didn't. They were dead set on killing Helix, as mentioned in the previous game. But funnily enough, I just make Sleeper here. I'm actually going to pop my Resort because I don't need it, though. In a game without a rescue mission set like that, I really wouldn't. I wanted to set up this exact play, so I put a call by the grave on top. I have a rescue mission in play. I'm going to bring back my Super Agent and then cross out to counter their call by, so I've got more material. My opponent's top decking on nothing. So they're basically just dead here with any extender, and their only card they're drawing is Taya next, and Taya can't beat a Sleeper. You just pop the token in the Taya, well, as soon as they summon it. So there you go. So I actually am going to draw an extender here with Jackalope, and the idea here is Sleeper is your best out to Protoss. There's no other way you can really do it, because you can't link climb as effectively without like Nightmare Unicorn in the mix, because you can't summon Nightmare Unicorn under Protoss going second, and you can't danger combo because you don't have the access to special summon dark monsters. Funnily enough, as you'll see here, I can just use. I did draw Jackalope, so Quik Fix would give me Big Red, and Big Red plus Super Agent plus Quik Fix is game with Jackalope, because I can make a 3 off of those 3, and then Big Red back a Quik Fix just to get me my last resort and go and make Access Code Talker. So my plan here was, if my opponent had left the Protoss in defense mode here, I would still win this game, and here's how. So obviously I'm winning here. My opponent's got no cards. I've got Access Code plus Sleeper, but it is important for me to like say, what if my opponent didn't link off into the link 4? I mean, I'm under Protoss lock continually then if they just set a Protoss in defense. My Sleeper can't attack over it. I had to banish my drone for my Sleeper, though I actually could have just banished Super Agent instead of Drone, which might have been what I did if my opponent left Protoss on the field. So in this particular instance, let's say I still had to banish Drone because I didn't have the extra material for whatever reason. You can just use Last Resort's effect to send whatever cards you draw off of Last Resort to attack directly 3 times. And you just keep popping your opponent's cards as soon as they play them. Like, my opponent's next draw is Taya. So even if I couldn't kill my opponent here because they had a Protoss in defense mode and I couldn't get into Access Code Talker because I couldn't activate Jackalope, or I couldn't summon Nightmare Unicorn to make a 5300 attack Access Code Talker, you know, I couldn't do any of that under Protoss lock, I would still just attack directly 3 times with Sleeper while outing anything else they play with Sleeper's effect. And that's how you beat Protoss. It's not really consistent because without Master Plan, you can't search out Sleeper as consistently while comboing. You basically need a bunch of Spyral Resorts and one of the Drone or Agent in hand, but it is a way to do it. And having an out is better than no outs, because some decks have 0 outs to that card. It's a targeted VFD that you can't Forbidden Droplets. It's really hard to out it without infinite permanence, and when they lead off with Longguan, they just save their Barone effect to negate your impermanence. So there you go. Yeah, that was game 3. I ended up getting a top 8 in this tournament, though I didn't record every single game. I made sure to get these Swordsoul games because I knew they'd be really interesting to show, like, hey, Spyral versus Swordsoul, it's the new deck. How do you play against it? Well, turn 1, you combo through them like any other deck, and while Swordsoul is a good going second deck, you know, Abaxia plus Barone are really good ways to break a board. Your board beats that. Your board survives Abaxia plays. You just have so many interactions, and Swordsoul is really bad at refilling their hand, so they can't play through the number of interactions the regular Barone Boilerload Sleeper board sets up. So yeah, you should just win going first if you can combo. And honestly, they don't play through just an Appaloosa Sleeper very well either. As you saw here, that deck just does not beat Sleeper Last Resort Under Resort very well. And if you're going second, well, if they Protoss you, fine Sleeper, man. Hope they don't kill you. And unfortunately, Swordsoul is very, very good at OTKing because of long one effects burning you. So it's really hard to survive that. But you know, if you can, just try to find Sleeper. You know, the Sleeper plus Last Resort is really hard for them to out. Unless they have a Chingy on board. So yeah, that was a nice little 3-game series against Swordsoul. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you want to see more games like this, I'm sure I'll be fighting more Swordsoul in the ranked as time goes on, and I can show you more games. But I thought this was maybe the most educational I could be. One thing of note I will take away from this tournament is it's probably, if you have the room for it or just the proclivity to running hand traps, run triple infinite impermanences because infinite impermanence is one of the few ways to out Protoss. And if you're seeing a whole lot of Swordsoul in the bracket and in the climb, like I am, impermanence is really good. I only ran 1 impermanence and 1 Veiler, which is kind of like impermanence for this tournament as a crossout package, and I wish I had ran more. I sold Swordsoul twice, and generally speaking, impermanence is just a good hand trap. It's just really powerful, and Effect Veiler is like your 4th impermanence and another hit off Alka Vibrax if you need a level 1 synchro to make a Boilerload. So it's just nice to have in the deck as backup whenever you have to use your Jet Synchron early or something. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that, and if you did, throw a like, comment, subscribe. I'd like to talk to you guys more about this kind of stuff, and I'll see you next time. Bye.